No, when I left off yesterday, it was really getting good, but I didn't want to just keep going because we got to keep these episodes short. Hey, BOOZHOO ni Janishinabe Dug. Welcome back to BOOZHOO Nana BOOZHOO. And this week we're reading from Michael Lyons' book, Amix Blood. Yesterday when we left off, Santa Claus, who in this book we find out he's kind of the bad guy. Uh, he's the uh, he's the elf hunter, and he was hunting for Amix blood, and he finds her on the boxcar with Stephen the mummy, and he hits Stephen, and Stephen's knocked out. And when we left off, a bat had just flown in and was beginning to transform. So I'm going to pick this up on page 40, and we'll just start. Okay, so here's a picture of Lilith, kind of in half transformation. Suddenly, a huge black bat fluttered in and flew directly for his head. Ducking at the last second, Santa Claus dropped on Mix and swirled around to see the bat begin to transform. In an instant, wings grew into a cape, and Lilith seemed to appear out of the darkness itself. Her eyes were still white, and her fangs slowly grew twice their original length. "Where do you think you're going with my sister?" she hissed, and slammed her fangs into Santa's shoulder. He stiffened for a moment, then relaxed and fell to the floor. Lilith let a single red stream dribble down the corner of her mouth. Her eyes returned to normal, and her fangs receded to slight points. She looked down at the red lump on the floor and said, "You've had that coming for a long time, old man." "Lilith!" Amix cried, and jumped into her arms. "You okay, sis?" "Yeah, I'm good," she replied. "Now." Then jumping down again, she raced over to Stephen's still body. "Stephen! Stephen! Are you okay?" she asked. Stephen had no response. Amix pulled at the white bandages covering his face to see if he was still breathing. To her amazement, Stephen had bright yellow skin and enormous oval-shaped eyes that covered much of the top of his perfectly smooth head. "Oh my!" Amix gasped. "I think Stephen is an alien." Stephen coughed, and his large eyelids opened slightly to reveal the glossy black inside. His face clenched in pain. "Surprise!" he groaned and tried to smile. "Lilith, he doesn't look so good," Amix said. "I could bite him on the neck and turn him into one of us," Lilith replied. "He would become immortal." From behind them, Santa slowly rose to his feet. Lilith and Amix spun around to see his eyes fade to white and pointed fangs drop from behind his mustache. "Worked for me," the jolly fat man declared, and transforming into a chubby red bat, laughed, "Ho, ho, ha, 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 ha," and drove and flew out and off into the night. From the roof, the reindeer watched him disappear into the starry sky and knew they were free at last. "Thanks, but that won't be necessary," Stephen said in a strained whisper. "I'll be okay in a little while." After a few minutes, yellow light began to radiate from beneath his skin. Thin rays shot out from spaces between the wraps. Stephen closed his eyes and straightened his body before levitating 4 feet into the air. "What's going on?" Amix asked, becoming increasingly uneasy. Stephen turned his head to face Amix and said, "Don't be afraid. I didn't get to be over 500 years old without learning a few tricks." He then became completely encased in a floating ball of yellow light. For a brief few moments, Amix and Lilith lost sight of Stephen completely. Eventually the light subsided and he slowly drifted to the floor. "Ah!" he groaned like someone who just woke up from a long nap. "I forgot how good it feels to regenerate." "What was that all about?" Amix asked. "There's a lot of misinformation about mummies out there," Amix Stephen said. But I'm afraid we'll have to talk about that later. Your sister has some very important information for you. Isn't that right, Lilith? You can read minds too, Lilith said, quite impressed. Yes, it's true, Amix. What is it? Lilith looked into her sister's concerned eyes, and with tears in her own whispered, Father is not well. All right, let's stop there for the day. So we learned something about Stephen. Not only is he a mummy, he's an alien too. All right, well, thank you for watching BOOZHOO Nano BOOZHOO. And we're probably going to finish this book in probably 2 days. So I'm going to leave you by saying, I will see you again. Giga Waba Min, Minowa. Oh, wa. Yeah, Amix Blood by Michael Lyons.